Story time. Alright, here we go. What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Jody motherfucking Keith, and I'm coming back to you with another story time from this past weekend at the Star City Games in Atlanta team event. During day 2, we ran into one of the fiercest teams, the Kevin Jones Tannon Grace team. Whoo boy, love playing Tannon Grace in Legacy. And so I sit down, he's playing Grixis Delver. And he almost got me last time, so this time I knew he was headhunting. And so we sat down to play, and Tannon, he's a local guy. I play him a lot. And, you know, usually in Legacy I beat up on him because it's usually a good matchup. Well, he was in for I was in for a surprise because game 2, we sat down, and he goes, turn 1, Deathrite Shaman. Average start, you know, Deathrite Shaman. So my hand was a little slow. It wasn't really slow. I had an Exploration. I expected him to have a Force, so I draw, I go Force, Exploration. He Force wills it. Okay, got the Force will, no big deal. You know, you can kind of expect that. Turn 2, he goes Bitterblossom. Now, Bitterblossom, I didn't realize how good that card was going to be. But he's like Bitterblossom. Now, I have the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale in my hand, which, if you don't know, he has to pay 1 for each creature. So I wasn't too worried about the Bitterblossom or the effect it would have me on at the time. I had 2 Ghost Quarters to destroy his land, so I figured he wasn't going to be able to keep the fairies in play. But what I didn't realize, the effect that it would have on my win condition of making a 20/20 with Dark Depths. He would have a continuous stream of blockers, which is normally the route to victory. Go overhead. When things are going hairy, go overhead and make a 20/20 and kill him. So anyway, I didn't realize that until 2 turns in, how big of an effect the Bitterblossom actually had on the game. So he goes turn 2 Bitterblossom, and then I play a Ghost Quarter, and he does some dirtling with a Ponder. He's got 2 Underground Seas and a Deathrite. And then on my next turn, I played a second Ghost Quarter, and I passed the turn. Now he passes back with those 2 Seas, attacked me with a couple Fairies, and then on his end step, I Ghost Quartered both of his lands. So he has no lands in play, but he does have a Deathrite Shaman. Now on my turn, I draw. I play the Tabernacle with a Forest up. Most important to the story is that I had the Force because I have Crop Rotation in hand. So usually you want to like have a green up, especially if you play a land like Tabernacle, because they're often going to try and waste it, and if they waste land, you want to go ahead and use that land as your additional cost. That way you're not stacking a land that wasn't going to die otherwise. You know, you don't commit a resource, you get them to commit the resource for you, which is a pretty sick play. So anyway, play the Tabernacle. I got the Force and Tabernacle out. He has no lands. I pass the turn, kills all of his creatures, because that's what Tabernacle does. He gets to keep the Deathrite Shaman. It's tapped. Slowed him down big time. But he was good, and he sandbagged the Wasteland. So now he has the Wasteland. He plays the Wasteland. He targets the Tabernacle. As expected, we Crop Rotation, right? In response, second the Tabernacle. To which he replies, Force of Will number 2. So I'm like, holy shit, man. 2 Force of Wills? Fuck, man. He ain't got no more. But, man, it's like, man, he's got everything he needs. The entire game right here to beat me. So then I draw. I just play a land, pass the turn. He untaps, makes his fairy, keeps his Bitterblossom up. You know, I mean, he casts a Ponder or something, you know, with his Deathrite Shaman. So then on my turn, I'm over here, catch my 3rd land. I drew a Punishing Fire. So I Punishing Fire his Deathrite Shaman. It resolves, obviously, because he Force of Will twice already. So obviously he doesn't have another Force of Will. So destroy his Deathrite Shaman, and I have the Grove of the Burn Willows to pick up the Punishing Fire. Now I pass the turn. When he passes back after whacking me with some fairies, still missing land drops. He misses land drops for the rest of this game. I decide not to pick up the Punishing Fire because I figured he had a Surgical. So I just untapped and drew, and then I played a 3rd land, and then I played a Crucible, or a 4th land, and then I played a Crucible. Now I already played my land already, played the Crucible, and then I said go. Now he's like, hold on, I'm thinking. And I was like, I had the Grove up as my 1 mana that was up. He's like, hold on, I'm thinking. I said, look, man, you got nothing to think about. He's like, well, yeah, I'm thinking. And I was like, well, look, I already played my land, and I already played my Crucible. You ain't got no Force, and, you know, no other response because I already played a land. You know, like if you were in a Surgical, like, I mean, so he's giving away that he has a Surgical. And I played it real fast right there intentionally because it would definitely you know, confirmed to me that he has a surgical. If he thinks about this play, obviously he's not thinking force will, because he would just force will it. You know, the only thing he'd be thinking about was surgical. But since I already played my land, you can't surgical. I mean, surgical, and you can wait to surgical, you know, to get more information. There's no reason why you would be thinking about a surgical unless you just naturally think about surgical. Like, I played surgical in my deck this weekend, and whenever I had it in hand, I tried to pretend like I had nothing. And I'm just like, okay, but just pay attention and try and be real quick and be like, if I see this card, surgical it. You know, like if I see Life from Alone in the Mirror, surgical it. You know, and don't think about it. You know, so he's over here thinking as to not give it away. So I was like, look, you don't have anything to do, go. And he's like, oh, yeah, all right, untap. And so he had no lands. And then on his upkeep, what I decided is not to wait for him to draw a land. I'm going to go ahead and use this Grove to pick up the Punishing Fire, which I know he will now surgical now that I know that he has surgical, which he's going to pay 2 life. And I can sniff out these surgicals, you know, but it's been confirmed now by the way he was taking so long on my turn. So you really need to pay attention in the way you talk and pass and your demeanor. You can draw a lot of information from the way you play. You know, you just play real fast. They wouldn't have a play. The only play they could possibly have is surgical right there, which isn't even a play because of the way that I played things. But since he held up, let me know he had surgical. So since he had surgical, I fed him the Punishing Fire. Boom, activate Grove. You know, normally I wouldn't do that. I would wait for another Grove or something like that, but I'm like, pick up the... And so the key here is he has no lands in play. So he's going to have to pay 2 life. Now this Bitterblossom has cost him 1 life every turn. So he pays the 2 life, goes down to 9. Beautiful. Whacks me with some fairies. So now on my turn, I play Glacial Chasm, which prevents all damage to be dealt to me. Now, when it comes into play, I have to sacrifice a land, and I can only play 1 land a turn, but I played it while I was at 6. He had 4 fairies in play. It was perfect. I passed a turn. He passes back. Well, he didn't pass back. He was attacking with his fairies for cool points. And so then, you know, upkeep, I paid the 2 life, went to 4. Then I played a Barbarian Ring. And I played a Life from Alone, picking up only 1 cycle land. And then with that cycle land, I cycled it. And then I dredged a loam to turn on Threshold to be able to shoot a Barb Ring at him. Next upkeep, I end up sacrificing the Chasm and then playing the Chasm from the yard. His upkeep, he takes 1. My turn, I pay 2 life, and then I play the Barb Ring and Barb Ring him. And then on my next turn, I sack the Chasm and then replay it. And then, you know, then the next turn, I let it die, and I play the Barb Ring, shoot him to 1, pass the turn, he dies to his own Bitterblossom. And the whole thing about it, that whole story is, he died to his own Bitterblossom. You know, when he surgicaled me, you know, and then he also had everything. He had the Force Will on time, both forces on time. He counted the Expiration. He had the Deathrite Shaman. He had Pithing Needle also for Thespian stage at one point in the game before his Deathrite Shaman died. And he even had a surgical, which would have been great against the Glacial Chasm, more so than the Punishing Fire, because the Punishing Fire would give him a life. And then with the needle out, I had to see this as my only route to victory. So sometimes people bring hate cards in against you, and they'll try and jam up one part of your strategy. Always be looking for your outs and play to your outs, you know, and then try and make some outs. And also, you should always like try and gain more information from your opponent through little tricks and the way that you play through your turn. You know, I'm not really rushing him, you know, but he doesn't have a play. And, you know, it was kind of aggressive the way that I said it. You know, I was like, look, dude, you don't have a play, you know, and him being a good player and me being a good player and respecting that he's going to make a good play and makes my statement completely true. You know, obviously, any little mind tricks that I, you know, offer to you or ways to gather extra information, you know, they're all in context of, you know, you can't pull it on everybody, but it's an ace up your sleeve that you should definitely use given the opportunity. So always be looking for extra information, and always make sure to know your route to victory, because the game changes, and it changes fast sometimes, and you have to be willing to adapt. You know, like the Timeless article, who's the beatdown? Well, it's deeper than that, you know, because, you know, how am I going to win? Like, when you play a game of Magic, always think about, how am I going to win this game? And only think about winning, and it's more likely that you're going to win if you got a winning strat in your mind, or at least have the word winning in your brain, and, you know, you'll do some winning. Yeah, we did some winning this weekend, so, you know, definitely, you know, always have a route to victory, and not just, you know, in each game, but also over the course of the tournament. You know, you got to make it a whole big package, bring it all together, keep the ace up your sleeve, you know, see what works for you. But always pay attention and try and find out, you know, different angles to get extra information from your opponent as well that you can use on your route to victory. But thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up, comment. You got any questions? You got any cool tricks of your own? Make sure you leave them down below. Check out my Twitch page, my Patreon. It's a good way to support the stream and these YouTube videos. And thanks for watching. Goon Squad, baby. Like, follow, subscribe. Y'all have a good night. One love, good vibes. See you on the next one.